Hey, welcome guys to a brand new PlanetScott.TV show. I've got Warren Davis on the show. He created Q*bert. You probably played the game, but he's got a brand new book that's out right now, and we're going to be talking to him on this episode of PlanetScott.TV. So, Warren Davis, I talked to him. I met him a few years ago, and I called him out of the blue saying, hey, you want to be on the show? He's like, I'm not doing anything. We're all stuck in our house. So he decided that it would be okay to come on my show. Didn't check my rap sheet, didn't do anything, but he came on the show. So I want to introduce you to Mr. Warren Davis. Good to see you. I want to talk about who you are, Warren, because we all know a little bit about you through what you've done. And what you've done, a lot of people are familiar with Q*bert. And so you created the video game itself, the code for it. You came up with the idea for Q*bert. And
more or less, yeah.
and of course, you had other people work. You had a few people work with you on the project.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was an evolutionary development. It was my first game that I was responsible for, having just been in the industry for maybe 2 or 3 months before I started working on it. But of course, the Q*bert team, and you know, you really can't talk about Q*bert. I always credit the Q*bert triumvirate, which is myself, Jeff Lee, of course, the artist who created all the characters and was my sounding board throughout, and Dave Thiel, who did the sounds. So the three of us were the team that put the game together.
Okay, and so you had a team of people put this game together, and next thing that you know, and this is what the world is seeing. The world is seeing, they see Q*bert being made, and then merchandising like crazy. I mean, everything in the world that you could have possibly thought of to have a merchandise for, you have it. You have coloring books, you have play sets, you have miniature toys, you have discs, you have all this stuff. So it kind of exploded all in, what, 1982, right?
1983. So I actually developed the game in 1982. I started working on it around March or April of 1982. It was pretty much finished by October, you know, having been tested. I think it started rolling off the production lines in the fall, and but it really wasn't until early 1983 that it was sort of introduced, because it took time to build these cabinets and distribute them. So really 1983 is where you start hearing about Q*bert in the press and things like that.
Now, from there, you had all these items that came around, but here we are. We're in the year 2020, and you can see some of the items that I found online that, they've got socks, they've got costumes, they have a miniature version, as you can see in the top left-hand corner. Someone's finger is in front of it. What are you thinking of it having this big resurgence now?
Well, I'm thinking I don't make any money off of this. That's one thing I'm thinking, but that's a minor thing, honestly. No, it's just very gratifying. I mean, just the idea that something that I did so long ago is still remembered and beloved. It's really a wonderful thing.
Mm-hmm. So to further what I wanted to show you was this.
Why, it's Q*bert. What brings you here, neighbor?
What's he saying, Felix?
Stand by. My Q*bertese is a little rusty. Ralph's gone turbo.
Okay, so I mean, it's not the first time that you saw Q*bert in the movie. There was a movie with Robin Williams, right? And
Moscow on the Hudson, correct? Yeah.
And so that movie was an incredible thing for You had Robin Williams talk about and play your game. That must have been surreal.
Yeah. Oh, that was a shocker because I didn't know anything about it. I went to the movies and I saw that movie, and when that happened, I was flabbergasted.
Yeah, yeah. And now you've got him in these major movies. You just saw him we just showed Wreck-It Ralph, and I mean that's not the only movie, by the way. Check this out. Here we go.
Hey, you know what'll cheer you up? A cheese ball.
Yep.
Huh? Come on, suck one up. Take a handful. That was smooth. That was very smooth.
Bull crap.
So, yeah, he's sort of been part of all of our lives now, which is amazing.
I have a little story about Pixels.
Oh, go ahead.
If you want to hear.
No.
So I'm an actor here in Los Angeles, as well as being a software guy. But there was a breakdown. I don't know if you know what breakdowns are. It's when the casting people send out notices to agents about what they're casting and what roles they're looking for. So it's called a breakdown. And I hadn't seen that there was a breakdown for Pixels, and they were looking for the character of Q*bert. There was a call, and I'm assuming it was for a stand-in because they were looking for like a 4-foot tall actor. But this was, again, news to me. I'm not in the loop. People don't send me, any kind of information about what they're doing with Q*bert. So I called my agent and I said, I saw that they're doing a movie and Q*bert is going to be a character. Would you contact the producers, see if, I can get a little cameo or a walk-on? I'd be happy to do anything. And never heard anything. So I don't know if my agent actually called and didn't get a response or if he just never bothered.
I would have been fighting for you, man. But how do you play Q*bert?
I wish I had you as my agent.
I'm telling you, because I really care about getting the word out with what you're trying to do. So, but
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I would have been like, hey, let's at least hear him say the gibberish part. Let's see how far he goes with that. So, which is nearly impossible. I've never really heard too many people to be able to talk like that. You've been all over the place. In fact, I've got something special for you, by the way. I want you to know before we go any further. I found something on the internet that you may not know about, and so I got a little video for you. So let me show it to you.
Where would you like to start?
Video Games 1200?
In 2019, Sony revived this odd-looking fellow who had to avoid coily while jumping from level to level. Shauka.
Who is Q*bert?
Yes.
Okay, that was my surprise to you, okay? Did you know that just occurred?
I did know, actually, so I don't watch Jeopardy, but two friends of mine texted me when it aired, and my nephew sent me the clip. Yeah. So I had seen it. I just seen it a couple of days ago, yeah.
Yeah,
But why? Why did it take 30 some odd years to get Q*bert on Jeopardy? That's what I want to know. Why?
Is that the first time?
Usually when things like that happen, somebody I know texts me or emails me or lets me know or send, back in the day, people would send me newspaper clippings when they read something about Q*bert. So usually I hear about things, but no, I've never heard of Q*bert being on Jeopardy before.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. I just thought that was like, it was meant to be, because that only happened a few days ago, last week. Yeah. So April 15th, 2020. So, yeah. Hey,
the little guy is still kicking. Still got some staying power.
Yeah, definitely has some really good. It's amazing. Super popular, uber popular game, still to today. But you came out with a book to tell the backstory, because as interesting as the craziness that you must have gone through with Q*bert and everything you've seen throughout the years, you wanted people to know the origin story, all these secrets behind where Q*bert came from. And what I got out of it, what I got out of your book, was how to exist in any environment. So if you're a geek, it's a great book. But if you are just looking to see how you exist and how you roll with the punches, I think you are the poster boy for that.
Well, thank you. I have picked up many a life lesson along the way, and it's not like my book is about life lessons, but it's just telling my story. And like you said, I did want people to know what goes on behind the scenes. Not only with Q*bert, but with, the other thing is people usually think of me in relation to Q*bert, but I had a long career in video games after that. That was just my first game, and I was involved with other games and other franchises that are popular today. So I just, the real impetus to actually write the book was that I've been going to retro gaming conventions. People had been starting to invite me, and I would go and I would do these talks and tell stories, and I realized how many stories there were, and there were so many that I couldn't tell them all in an hour talk. So I started kicking around the idea that maybe I should write a book. I mean, it's not something. It was a daunting task. Don't get me wrong. I have written smaller things, articles and short scripts and things like that in the past. So it's not like I've never written anything. But a book was a daunting task. So it kicked around in my head for a few years before I actually, was able to sit down and start writing it.
Yeah, and I think it's perfect for you to release it right now because retro is 100% back right now. People are looking to the past to find out what was most fun in their life. Where did they get their enjoyment? And so, people, there's a lot of money to be made in that nostalgia feeling. And so, but I think a lot of new gamers are looking back and playing it again too. I mean, it is a toy for Christmas. It's socks. It's fun to wear. There's everything about Q*bert. But you were saying that you're not all about Q*bert. I mean, I just want to make sure that the world realizes when you read this book, you get to see him make a Laserdisc video game. Okay, just like Dragon's Lair.
Us versus them.
Okay. And
which, to my mind, is a more interesting story than the Q*bert story. I mean, some of these stories I think are more fascinating than to me anyway. I don't know what other people think, but I think that's a more interesting story in general about how these guys who really didn't have much of a background in filmmaking, were suddenly given carte blanche to go and just create this crazy video game with all this flying footage and actors and scenes with live actors, which has never been done before. So, as a game goes, I'm probably as proud or more proud of that game than anything else I've done.
Yeah, and I think you had to turn into an action hero, according to what I read in the book. And you guys got to see what he went through. He literally lived the life. He was in an airplane and helicopter and everything else to get this live footage for a video game. Okay, there's some people taking things to the nth degree. You put your life on the line. You're out there hanging out. Come on, you're out there.
I mean, I was in nobody was planning on the plane crashing or the helicopter crashing. I'm sure people can quote statistics and say how air travel is much safer than car travel, but I wouldn't say I put my life on the line. I mean, I got motion sickness. That story's in there.
I don't know.
I had to take a Dramamine. That story's in there.
Well, for a programmer to leave his cubicle to go outside and to experience what you did for that, it was unbelievable. And so, go ahead. A lot of that came from my desire, to be a filmmaker, which is something I had when I was a teenager. And again, I talk about this in the book, but my two career paths when I was in high school was either filmmaker or computer programmer or computer scientist, or computer engineer, I should say. At the time, computer science and computer engineering were two different things, and I really was interested in something that melded both, and it just so happened that my college
when I graduated, I think it was the second year that they offered a degree, an engineering degree that really was sort of a melding of computer science and electrical engineering. So I was just there at the right time.
Well, you were there at the right time, but you've also had some friends in the industry sort of helped you along. And see, people have to understand, when you're a programmer, you have a project. When the project is going, you went from hero to zero. And so you kind of have to reinvent yourself over and over and over again and kind of prove that you got the right stuff. And so, well,
it didn't hurt to have created Qbert. That bought me a lot of goodwill at Gottlieb and gave me a lot of freedom to work on pretty much anything I wanted to. So, but even that was, short-lived because of the crash of '84, which ultimately ended up in Gottlieb shutting its doors. So. Yeah,
but you've also ended up on your feet, and you did stuff like Joust 2. For instance. So
yes, that is true. Joust 2, also in the book, went to Williams after Gottlieb and worked on Joust 2. Yes.
Okay, which is the one game that when you're done playing, you can't feel your fingertips anymore. You guys know.
Blame
what I'm
John
about.
Newcomer for that.
Oh my God! I'm still flapping, man.
Yeah.
Boy, that game is exhausting.
Yeah, I mean, I can't take much credit for Joust. I mean, John Newcomer and Bill Futzenreuter developed it. John was the designer, and he was there for Joust 2 with a different set of programmers. But he was the driving force, and that's pretty much his game. So I did see a few years ago. I saw some generic cabinets that would house like maybe 40 or 50. Games in one cabinet, and I was struck by the fact that it had Qbert, but it did not have a diagonal joystick. It had an up, down, left, right joystick. So I thought, why would you put Qbert in there? You can't really play it well.
Yeah, I don't understand either. But when you did it, I mean, you broke the mold. Let's face it. There was.
That again, it's another story kind of, because I got a lot of push. Strangely, that seems very odd to me, but I got a lot of pushback just for wanting to mount the joystick diagonally.
Yeah, well, the squatty potty was a little weird before people realized that they really needed it. Okay, so
I love the squatty potty.
The squatty potty.
Yeah, it's genius idea.
It is, and doing something like that. Genius.
Well, all right. I don't know about that, but
I'll take that one. You're the originator. You're allowed to. So let's talk about your book for a second, as far as where they can get the book, and I'm going to show it off right here. Okay, so it's called "You Can't Call It," or "You Can't Call."
Yeah, the swear balloon is actually part of the title.
It is, okay.
It's
I
called
wasn't
You
sure.
Can't Call It, blah, 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 blah. And that title comes from a story in the book where Howie Rubin, he was Gottlieb's sorry, there's no alcohol in here. Gottlieb's vice president of business development and one of the leaders of the video department with the VP of engineering, Ron Waxman. Those two guys ran the department. Howie wanted to call it the swear balloon, right? And we were like, well, but Howie, that's insane. How are people going to talk about it, And Howie said, if this game is as good as I think it is, they'll find a way. This was Howie. Howie was like an out-of-the-box thinker, and still with us, by the way. So not diminished in any way over the years. Yes. But Howie and Ron are sort of the unsung heroes.
Howie is still alive, okay? Howie's still alive.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Ron Waxman, unfortunately, not still with us. But again, Howie and Ron were really the unsung heroes and the leaders of the Gottlieb video department. So the title. So that's kind of where it came from. But yeah, a lot of people are confused and think that the cartoon balloon is not part of it, but it is part of the title.
Okay. So let's talk about where you can get your book. Where's my video for? There we go. So you can get it at warrendavisshop.square.site, okay? And it ships in the United States. It'll ship in the United States and international, but if you want it signed...
No, that's not true. So at my shop, at Warren Davis Shop,
oops, hold on.
That's only for the United States.
Right.
But on that site, you can order it signed. I will, sign and personalize if you want.
Right.
Or you could just order it unsigned. So you have those two options. And as your graphic shows, I've got a COVID discount, a coronavirus discount through the end of May. So it'd be $6 off of the prices you see here. So,
okay.
But if you want to buy it and you are outside of the United States, there's another site which is listed on the bottom of your graphic at blurb.com. And you can just go to blurb.com and put my name in the search bar. That might be easier than all that long link. But it will ship worldwide.
And so
unfortunately, because they print it and ship it directly, there's no way for me to autograph those copies. But
okay, but you wanted to.
I'd love to. This is the best I could do. I'm self-publishing, and honestly, I have meant to contact publishers and see if I could get publishers interested. I never did that. So we're sort of in an early phase where. We were talking a little bit earlier. I don't do a lot of marketing. I don't, I'm not a marketing guy. I'm not big on self-promotion. If people are interested in the book, and people have been finding it, and I welcome all readers. I welcome all comments. But yeah, I'm not looking to make a ton of money. Basically, I wrote the book as a way to collate all of these stories. That I don't always get a chance to tell, and I meet people who are, interested. Honestly, I'm not a person who needs to be the center of attention or be talked about. But when people are interested in my life and things that I've done, I just want to make those stories available, and that was pretty much my impetus for writing it in the first place. And it is a bit of history. A lot of people are talking about video game history. And the other reason I wrote it is because I'm reading a lot of things or seeing a lot of things that are just wrong. Sometimes they're very wrong. Sometimes they're just slightly wrong, where I might do an interview and say something, and then somebody just slightly misinterprets that, and then I see a misinterpretation, and I figured if I put something in my own words, I can't blame anybody if it comes across wrong. But hopefully I've succeeded in at least telling the story I'm trying to tell.
Well, I think it's a great story. Like I said, I read the book. It kept me entertained. I personally don't read a lot of books because they generally bore me. I don't want to hear. I like to hear about real people's lives. I like to hear about the reality of things, and that's what I got. And so I wasn't bored at all. And so, if you're a geek, if you're a programmer, and you want to see what it was like back in the day, if you want to hear stories about how video games came about and how maybe you can put that in your life, or if you just want to have a great read and sort of a historical document that breaks down the time from when Mr. Davis started his career to really 2020 till today, then please check out the book. It's a really good book. It's fun, and it's a good gift. I mean, what geek would not like to have a book that is from the man who created Q*bert and many other things. So, and by the way, I wore my my Cube shirt for you. I know it's not Q*bert, but I did.
It's close enough. It's close enough. I'll take it. I'll accept that.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it. We're going to say goodbye to you, but we're not signing off. We're just going to end the video right now. So thank you very much for coming on. And here is the information one more time to buy his book.
Good to be here.
And so if you could, I'd love if you could follow me at Facebook.com/PlanetScott.TV, YouTube.com/PlanetScott.TV, Instagram.com/Planet_Scott_. PlanetScott.TV _ Anyway, thank you very much, and we'll be seeing you next week.